This is today's Bible reading. It is Daniel 1st, Daniel 5, Belshazzar's feast. Belshazzar the king made a great feast for 1,000 of his lords and drank wine in the presence of the 1,000. While he tasted the wine, Belshazzar gave the command to bring the gold and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple which had been in Jerusalem, that the king and his lords, his wives, and his concubines might drink from them. Then they brought the gold vessels that had been taken from the temple of the house of God which had been in Jerusalem. And the king and his lords, his wives, and his concubines drank from them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and silver, bronze and iron, wood and stone. In the same hour, the fingers of a man's hand appeared and wrote opposite the lampstand on the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his hips were loosened and his knees knocked against each other. The king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. The king spoke, saying to the wise men of Babylon, whoever reads this writing and tells me its interpretation shall be clothed with purple and have a chain of gold around his neck, and he shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Now all the king's wise men came, but they could not read the writing. Then King Belshazzar was greatly troubled. His countenance was changed, and his lords were astonished. The queen, because of the words of the king and his lords, came to the banquet hall. The queen spoke, saying, O king, live forever. Do not let your thoughts trouble you, nor let your countenance change. There is a man in your kingdom in whom is the spirit of the holy God, and in the days of your father light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods, were found in him. And King Nebuchadnezzar, your father the king, made him chief of the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and soothsayers, inasmuch as an excellent spirit, knowledge, understanding, interpreting dreams, solving riddles, and explaining enigmas were found in this Daniel, whom the king named Belteshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will give the interpretation. The writing on the wall explained. Then Daniel was brought in before the king. The king spoke and said to Daniel, Are you that Daniel who is one of the captives from Judah, whom my father the king brought from Judah? I've heard of you, that the Spirit of God is in you, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom are found in you. Now the wise men, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing and make known to me its interpretation, but they could not give the interpretation of the thing. And I have heard of you that you can give interpretations and explain enigmas. Now if you can read the writing and make known to me its interpretation, you shall be clothed with purple and have a chain of gold around your neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Then Daniel answered and said before the king, Let your gifts be for yourself, and give your rewards to another. Yet I will read the writing to the king and make known to him the interpretation. O king, the Most High God gave Nebuchadnezzar your father a kingdom and majesty, glory and honor. And because of the majesty that he gave him, all peoples, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him. Whomever he wished, he executed. Whomever he wished, he kept alive. Whomever he wished, he set up. And whomever he wished, he put down. But when his heart was lifted up, and his spirit was hardened in pride, he was deposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. Then he was driven from the sons of man. His heart was made like the beasts, and his dwelling was with the wild donkeys. They fed him with grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till he knew that the Most High God rules in the kingdom of men, and appoints over it whomever he chooses. But you, his son, Belshazzar, have not humbled your heart Although you knew all this, and you have lifted yourself up against the Lord of heaven, they have brought the vessels of his house before you, and you and your lords, your wives, and your concubines have drunk wine from them. And you have praised the gods of silver and gold and bronze and iron, wood and stone, which do not see or hear or know, and the God who holds your breath in his hand and owns all your ways, you have not glorified. Then the fingers of the hand were sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the inscription that was written: Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. This is the interpretation of each word. Mene, God has numbered your kingdom and finished it. Tekel, you have been weighed in the balances and found wanting. Peres, your kingdom has been divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Then Belshazzar gave the command, and they clothed Daniel with the purple and put a chain of gold around his neck and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be third ruler in the kingdom. Belshazzar's fall. That very night Belshazzar, king of the Chaldeans, was slain, and Darius the Medes received the kingdom, being about 62 years old. Transition: Isaiah and Cyrus the Persian. The Babylon of King Nabonidus began to totter. In 550 BC, Cyrus the Persian captured Ecbatana, the capital of the Median Empire, and began to look south toward Babylon. To a Babylonian population disgusted with the absentee, King Nabonidus and his corregent Belshazzar, the prospect of a Persian conquest was quite attractive. In 539 BC, Cyrus would march into Babylon as a conqueror, greeted by shouts of joy from the conquered. The latter chapters of the book of Isaiah have for centuries been recognized as different from the earlier chapters. The language and style of Isaiah 40 through 55 are distinct, but the most remarkable difference is the tone. Whereas Isaiah 1 through 39 has spoken almost exclusively of judgment and disaster, the new section begins with God's call. Comfort, yes, comfort, my people. These chapters declare not judgment, but salvation, hope, and restoration. It is not difficult to identify when this salvation is to be. Israel will return from the Babylonian exile. In these chapters, Jerusalem is spoken of as uninhabited and in ruins, and the temple itself as destroyed, but both city and temple will be rebuilt. Israel's return from Babylon is pictured as a second Exodus, with God making a way in the wilderness and causing water to spring up in the desert. God promises to deliver his people from Babylon. Furthermore, through the prophet, God even names the one through whom this great salvation would come about. Cyrus, my shepherd. These words of comfort seem directed to the Judean exiles in Babylon, just before the city of Babylon fell to Cyrus' Persian armies. There's little argument then concerning the time spoken of in Isaiah 40 through 55. There's much more disagreement as to when and by whom these chapters were written. Many scholars hold that these oracles came from an unknown prophet who lived in Cyrus' own time during the Babylonian captivity, and who predicted the approaching end of the exile. This prophet, often called the second Isaiah, would have considered himself a disciple of the great Isaiah of Jerusalem. Indeed, some scholars suggest that second Isaiah may have been the one who preserved the collection of Isaiah's oracles found in Isaiah 1 through 39. Others, though, accept the traditional association of these words with the original Isaiah. The two parts of the book always appear together in the ancient manuscripts, and several key themes appear in both parts. Regardless of who wrote Isaiah 40 through 55, these chapters speak of a future event. the glorious return from exile that will be authorized by Cyrus the Persian. Needing comfort in exile, Isaiah 40, 1 and 2. The prophet announces God's decree, "Comfort my people." This message of comfort was very appropriate since, along with the prophecies of Isaiah 40 through 55, it addresses the Judean experience of exile to Babylon in the 6th century BC. Not all of the people of Judah were taken to Babylon. Those who were, the exilic community, were the old Judean aristocracy. Previously, they had held positions of power, status, and wealth in Jerusalem. In Babylon, though, life would be very different. Defeated subjects who were forced from their homeland were allowed to live in ethnic enclaves in Babylon. Initially, they probably worked at menial tasks, such as digging ditches to improve the Babylonian irrigation canals. Later on, some Judeans did find prosperity in Babylonian society, largely by assimilating to it. Yet, for people who had been the native aristocracy, the forced move to a diaspora community was probably like being sent to 20th century concentration, labor, or refugee camps. Such a social change would have stretched to the limit the exilic community's conviction that Yahweh had elected the Judean from all the people of the earth. Meanwhile, society in Judah had utterly disintegrated following the fall of Jerusalem in 586 BC. The death caused by the Babylonians' invasion, the exile of the aristocracy, and the destruction of the temple gutted Judah of all institutions that had held the society together. Only the tribal area of Benjamin, north of Jerusalem, seemed to escape societal disintegration. In Judah itself, population plummeted 90% following the disaster. Thus, the exiles in Babylon could not look to their past for hope. There they found only the consequences of their sin. What the exiles needed, hope, comfort, tender words of future, could be found only in the faithfulness of Yahweh, their God. The prophet offers exactly that message in Isaiah 40, pointing away from the sins of the past, away from the conditions of the present, to a future when the exiles would experience divine faithfulness and be restored to their land. This is the end of the Bible reading today. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day. God bless you, and see you tomorrow.